Contemplative Practices. So, contemplation is an act of considering with attention. The most common contemplative practices are really probably prayer and meditation, but there are many other forms of contemplation. Benefits of contemplative practices include stress reduction, enhanced attention and awareness abilities, improved self regulation, and enhanced empathy awareness. The more we use contemplative practices, the more compassionate we become towards ourselves as well as others. So I love this tree, and you'll get a copy of this handout. So you'll have it if you want to go back and refer to it from contemplativemind.org. But it really represents that contemplative practices are widely varied and come from traditions all over the world. Examples include various forms of movement and dance, ritual, meditation, and focused thought, which is one of the practices we're going to do today. They also include time in nature, reflective writing, deep listening, dialogue, storytelling, and arts, which we'll also practice today, the arts one. If you joined us for any of the other 3 webinars in this series, which was yoga, energy work, and journaling, you were performing a contemplative practice. Some people find that physical practices like dance, martial arts, yoga, or even lifting weights works best. Others find stillness and silent practices like mindfulness meditation or sitting in nature more resonant. Some people find that religious or cultural tradition rituals are the most soothing. So you might notice that in addition to some that you've heard of before or might associate with contemplation, if you look at the top of the tree, you'll notice that activism and social justice activities can also be contemplative. So there's basically a practice for everyone. I do encourage you to try some of the movement practices that we can't quite accommodate online, but something as simple as a walk in nature, focusing on your surroundings, can be a wonderful contemplative practice. Now we'll move into our first practice in just a moment. But I want to first say if during either of these practices, we're going to do 2 today, they're longer than most of the exercises we do together. So if you at any point experience any discomfort, especially emotional discomfort, then please just stop the activity, take a few deep breaths, maybe drink a couple of sips of water, and then you can decide if you want to rejoin or if you want to just sit it out and maybe watch, or maybe you just are done for the day, whatever works for you. Okay, so we're going to start with the first practice, which is a breath, body, sounds, and thought meditation. So this is going to be quite a few minutes. So make sure that you're sitting comfortably, feet flat on the floor, and sit comfortably straight. We want the air to flow through. Now bring your awareness to your body in space. So within whatever space you're in, just start noticing where your body is in that space. Bring awareness to the front of the body, the back body, and everything in between. Allow the pubic bone to descend and the chest to rise. So you can kind of feel the stretch. Align your chin with your navel. So you want to sit straight so that there's like a line between the two. The tongue is at rest behind the teeth. So now at this point, as we continue to prepare, I want you to close your eyes, or if that makes you uncomfortable, take a soft, receptive gaze a few feet in front of you on the floor. Now I want you to note the physical sensations by focusing the attention on the sensations of touch, contact, and pressure in your body, where it's making contact with whatever you are sitting on. Now I want you to bring attention to the changing patterns of physical sensations in the lower abdomen as the breath moves in and out of the body. Note the expansion of the abdomen as you inhale and the deflation of the abdomen as you exhale. You're simply breathing in and breathing out. Now I'd like you to bring attention to the pause at the top of the inhale and the pause at the bottom of the exhale. There's a little tiny gap as you switch directions. And just accept the breath as it is. Now, when the attention wanders, just gently return it back to the sensations of breathing. It will wander, that's okay. As soon as you notice, come back to paying attention to the breathing, the pause at the top, and the pause at the bottom. Now, on an out breath, release the primary focus of attention from the sensations of breathing. And on the in breath, turn the focus to the sensations in the body as they present themselves. When a particular sensation is arising and captures your attention, bring your attention there and investigate it fully. Its characteristics, depth, shape, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, noting if there is tension or ease. Explore this sensation fully and then wait for another one to arise and explore that one. Whenever the attention is being hijacked by other sensations in the body, outside the body, or by thoughts or emotions, note them and then return back to the focus in this moment, which is the sensation currently presenting itself in your body. Now, on an out breath, shift your attention from sensations in the body, and on the in breath, move the attention up to the ears, allowing the awareness to open and expand so that there is a receptiveness to sounds as they are rising and passing, not searching for sounds or listening for particular sounds. Simply notice whatever sounds you can hear. As best you can, open the ears to receive sounds from all directions as they come and go, noting sounds that are close, sounds that are far, sounds that are in front, behind, to the side, above, or below. Opening to sounds outside the room, inside the room, and inside the body. Note the characteristics of sounds without naming their origin, hearing pitch, tone, volume, spaces between sounds, discrete or continuous sounds. Bring awareness to obvious sounds and more subtle sounds. If there are no sounds, simply note that. As best you can, be aware of sounds simply as sensations. If you become aware of thinking about the sounds, reconnect again as best as you can with direct awareness of their sensory qualities, like patterns of pitch, timbre, loudness, and duration, rather than their meanings or implications. Whenever you notice that the attention is no longer focused on hearing, gently acknowledge where the attention has moved and return it back to sounds as they are rising and passing moment by moment without harshness or a story. Just gently return to hearing over and over. Now, on an exhale, release attention on hearing, and on the in breath, focus attention on thoughts and emotions as objects of awareness. Thought as sensations arising in the mind or as mental events. Just as with sounds, notice thinking as it is coming and going. Now, as best you can, focus on thoughts that come into awareness, noticing when they appear, focusing attention on them, observing them as they arise, pass, and eventually disappear. There is no need to try to make thoughts come or go. Just let them be in the same way that you related to the arising and passing away of sounds. Sometimes it can be helpful to label thoughts as thinking when one is noticed. If specific emotions come into awareness, you can name them like sadness is here or boredom is here. Then return to the observation of thoughts and emotions as sensations unto themselves. Some people find it helpful to view thoughts as text on a screen, watching the screen, waiting for a thought or image to come into view, and when it does, paying attention to it as long as it is present, and then noting its passing as it fades. Now, on the out breath, let go of this open monitoring of thoughts and emotions, and on the in breath, bring attention to the sensations of breathing in the lower belly, noting the stretch of the abdomen on the inhale and its deflation on the exhale. Now, on an out breath, Expand awareness to the entire body, from the top of the head to the tips of the toes, opening to any and all sensations. And then at the sound of the chime, bring this more spacious attention into your next moments and open your eyes or refocus your gaze. Excellent. So we will be opening up for comments and questions after we complete the next contemplative practice. So I really look forward to hearing how that experience was for you. So now we are going to move on to a different type of contemplative practice, which ties into on that tree to the arts. You're going to create a little piece of art. So I hope you all got the message to bring a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or marker. I'm going to use the word pen, but it just means whatever your utensil is. So this next contemplative activity is called drawing the breath. And note the symbolism of drawing the breath, because that's a phrase that we also use when we breathe in. So two meanings here. Now, I chose this practice for today because I know some of you had taken up coloring as a stress reducer back in the days when we actually got together in person. And while retailers quickly figured out that they could market their coloring books to adults as mindful coloring books, in fact, coloring in a picture isn't actually very contemplative. It's more of a numbing technique, and it is very relaxing, but we're not really using much of our minds, right, while we're doing that process. And contemplation means using our minds. So the purpose of drawing the breath is because it not only strengthens the mind-body connection, but it requires focus. So what I'd like you to do is simply take your writing tool and place it in the center, put the point in the center of your paper. Okay, so that's the very first step. But before you begin to draw, I'd like you to pause and close your eyes or find an object across the room to focus on as we're going to draw our breath without looking at the paper. So please make sure if you're using a pen or a marker that you have placed something underneath it so you don't damage the surface you're writing on. I don't want you to get, I don't know, permanent marker on your dining room table or something. And before you begin to follow the instructions for your artwork, just take a few deep breaths and tune in the way that you connect with the breath. Remember, we all connect with the breath differently. So for some of you, that may be deepening your breath so that the sound is really nice and audible, and you can just anchor your attention to the sound of your breathing. For some of you, it may be the gentle rhythm. You can feel, your chest and belly rise and fall, whichever works for you. Also, please feel free to remember to release and soften any tension on the out breath. Every out breath is an opportunity to relax and to let go. So take a few minutes, no, probably not a few, a couple of minutes to do these focus breaths in the way that works best for you right now, concentrating fully on the breath so you're sharpening your focus. As we know, the breath is one of the foundational mindfulness tools to help us build concentration. Also, please remember to soften your eyebrows and your eyes as you do this. It's really common for people to tense up their brows when they focus on their breath. So just take a few seconds to do that. Okay, with your pen tip against the paper, I'd like to invite you on your next out breath to allow the pen to flow in the direction it feels like the breath is moving, and then stop at the end of the breath. So I want you to breathe in and out and move the pen in a different direction with each breath without looking at the paper. So as you breathe in, the pen moves in one direction, then comes to a stop. And then as you breathe out, it goes in another direction and comes to a stop. And just continue with that flow. You're not looking at it, you're feeling your breath and moving your pen in sync with that. So breathing in, the pen moves one way, breathing out in another. And it may be swirling, it may be straight, it may be jagged, just flowing with the breath, moving in and out. And you can breathe at whatever normal pace you breathe, Just try to start feeling the movement with your hand as you breathe. And remember, don't look at the paper. Now I'd like you to observe how accurate you can get about syncing up the beginning and ending of the in-breath and out-breath with the beginning and ending of the movement of your pen. This is a great sharpening tool, focusing on beginnings and endings. Usually takes a few seconds for you to kind of get it in the rhythm. Now let's focus on deepening the breath. So rather than honing in on beginnings and endings, now just flow with the breath and see if the pen moves in a different way when you deepen your breath. Just allow yourself to relax as you breathe out, just letting the flow of the pen have a nice natural rhythm, syncing up with the flow of releasing, breathing in, and breathing out. Let's do a few more of those breaths now, recommitting, full attention, concentrating on the rhythm of your breath through the pen on paper. So now at the end of the next out breath, just allow yourself to stop the pen. Before you open your eyes and look down, I want to invite you to become aware of the kind of thoughts that you first have when you look down. Okay, so now look at your artwork and ask yourself if you're judging yourself, or are you in a state of acceptance? What sort of thoughts do you have, and what words come to mind when you look at it? Feel free to give it a name. When you are alone and have more time to do this, you might consider trying to do it with multiple colors of markers or pencils. You could set them on one side of your paper since you're not looking down, and you could draw, for a minute and then set that one aside and pick up another color, keep going. You might end up with a beautiful piece of modern art to hang on your wall that represents your breath. All right. Good job.